Hi there, this second reading is going to be from End of the Earth, which is the second book in the Changeling Saga. Um, we've just put the third book in for publication. Basically, the story arc it follows the same group of individuals through three different continents actually, and the same kind of battling with the pandemic sitting in the background. It's a different kind of pandemic though, not the one we're also bored with. The pandemic in this one's a magical pandemic. Um, where this takes us to is half the family have, or the savage family have disappeared over to Namibia in the southern tip of Africa, where they're investigating something that will affect the future of their family. And they have arrived in the desert, in a desert camp, and they're being taken out to discover their surroundings by a guide who comes from the local Sand tribe. After the most excellent, rejuvenating night's sleep back in the quiet bosom of the ancient land of everyone's ancestors, they were all up with a peculiar chorus of the African dawn. In this corner of the globe, dawn sounds very different to the crowing of the European cock, the traffic noise at rush hour, the phone alarm, or the ever-present digital radio or TV. As soon as night gives way to light here, the frogs and the crickets hand over to the insects of the day. They create a clicking choir as a backdrop to the heat that swells as surely as the rolling coastal tide. After a truly delicious breakfast of exotic fresh fruit, including guava, melon, bush apricot and pawpaw, to accompany their cereals, they grabbed a packed lunch and were soon back in the four-wheel drive car with a grinning Moses in the driving seat. "Today I'm taking you to a very special place," he announced in hushed tones. "It was once the sacred gathering spot of the Sand People, an ancient tribe of nomads believed to be some of the first people on this earth. We're going to see the rock carvings, children," said their father from the front passenger seat. He couldn't conceal his own excitement, as he would be including the relics in his lecture to the university later on in the trip. Pops had donned his khaki gear, long socks and bush hat, and he winked at Alice over his shoulder as he spoke. "Oh, Dad," was the common cry of the children, however, who it seemed were less enthusiastic about some old drawings than he had hoped. All the adults laughed at this response, but not wanting to disappoint the children, James added, "Well, I'm told there are plenty of animals on the way, and some even claim that there's an elephant graveyard somewhere nearby." That earned the sharp collective intake of breath he'd hoped for. Eloisa, however, noticed that Moses was surprisingly quiet when James mentioned the graveyard. A bit of a surprise for one so chirpy and incandescently bubbly. They made a quick pit stop at the evocatively named Solitaire Garage. It was a splendid oasis decorated with skeletons, the roasting hulks of abandoned vintage cars and trucks half buried in sand. Here they stocked up with provisions, lots of drinks, car sweets, and surprisingly incredible pastries, including rusks and very messy cook sisters, which are a type of yum-yum. Then they were soon back on the long and the winding dirt road. An hour into their journey, with the blazing sun overhead, their car approached a shape moving fleetingly against the hazy horizon. As they gradually got closer, they realized it was a large and a graceful antelope or deer that was running by the side of a man-made path. It was unlike the horned monarchs they knew from home. It was seemingly stronger and somehow wilder. It was clearly skittish and very fearful of this unwanted encounter. It was galloping for all it was worth, and despite its grace, power and beauty, it was clearly distressed. Moses slowed down until the car matched its speed so his passengers could admire it. But to the sensitive children it somehow felt wrong to add to its anxiety. "Kudu bull," he announced with pride. "See its beautiful markings on its flank, its large ears, its strong muscles, and its magnificent head of curling horns. It is a trophy much prized." "Trophy? What do you mean?" snapped Holly. "Well, hunters, But Moses was surprisingly and abruptly cut off, as he began his answer, by a sudden shout from behind the driver's seat. "Watch out!" The proud and noble animal had clearly had enough of running. It suddenly veered across the road in front of them. Moses slammed on the brakes and he only just managed to halt the vehicle in time as it skidded sideways through the sands on the road to a sharp stop. The buck advanced slowly now, eyes fixed on them. It then took up a defiant position in front of their car. It scanned each passenger. Then it settled its eye contact on the worried face of the driver. It began pawing the ground with its hooves. This buck clearly wasn't frightened anymore. Something in its manner suggested the opposite, possibly anger, as if it recognised something disturbing about the passengers in this car. It held this pose defiantly, as if daring them to advance, as if challenging them to follow. So as I said, that's from Book 2 in the Changing trilogy. This one's called Ends of the Earth.